This is Teacher Maggie here. Today, Felipe and I will be talking about how branding is important on your Instagram if you are willing to get new students. So let's wait until Felipe comes and we are going to start our class. I hope you enjoy it.
Today we're gonna talk about how can we make our Instagram better?
Yes, so
How
today,
can we organize it?
so we are going to be talking about branding. Yes, so it's very important if you want to get more students with your Instagram. So, what is branding? So, people, when we talk about branding, branding is everything that give us in our Instagram some personality. It is going to help your students or your followers to identify at first immediately that the post they see there is yours. How are you going to do this? Through some colors and some different fonts. What do I mean when I say that? What are your values? What do you believe? You have to make it very clear what you think about English and teaching English. So, are you a conservative teacher? Are you a more modern teacher? Are you the teacher that believes that teaching through grammar is outdated? Or are you a teacher that believes that grammar is important? So you have to make your values and your teaching approach very clear on your Instagram. So people who identify with the way you work are going to become your followers. And you also have to make it very clear what your mission is.
So,
Felipe?
so branding is related to everything that takes part of your personality, the way you teach, the way you organize your posts, the way that you interact with your students.
Yes, and the way you're going to show yourself to people who are going to follow you, yes, or the persona. I mean, the people you are interested in attracting to your Instagram. Once you have an Instagram and a Facebook, you must choose 2 or 3 colors, maybe 4, yes, and the colors they must match to one another. Okay, I'm going to show you some examples later on. And also they must be present in all your communication, on your Instagram, on your WhatsApp messages, on your Facebook, because this is how the students are going to identify your posts when they are, for example, looking at their mobile phones, like on the Instagram, just passing through there, going over the reels and etc. As soon as they see something that reminds them about you, they are going to stop and pay attention.
Tips can you give for people who don't use these things, such as me?
Just a second, because we are going to get there, right? So you have to create educational and interesting content related to teaching English. This can include tips on grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and insights into English speaking culture. What I mean is, okay, you need colors, you need 2 types of fonts, otherwise it's going to be, and it's going to look clumsy and messy. But in your case, Felipe, I advise you to work with reels, only reels. Why? Because the reels, you don't need to make a cover for the reels. As when you do a carousel, for example, we need a cover. Yes, we need the front page of the carousel calling with a headline calling an attention for the students to click there and start looking at it, and reading what you have written there. But in your case, for example, that you have an impairment and you cannot identify the colors, I would advise you to work only with videos, short videos, because you can create this educational and interesting content related to teaching English through reels, yes, and not worry about, for example, you don't have to decide what colors you're going to use there, okay?
So what is the next tip?
So share your personality and passion for teaching in your posts. connect with your followers by sharing personal stories and relevant experiences. This is very important. Why? Because Instagram is a place where people want relationship. Yes. And people, although everybody uses the Instagram to sell their stuff, people are there for entertainment. So it's very important that you think about on what you're going to post there. And you needed to think about the objective, what you want from a post. Sometimes I see teachers complaining that they post a lot and they don't have results, that people don't interact with them, and that they have no results when getting more students. Maybe because they are just posting tips, and this is what everybody does. So what you have to do there, you have to talk about yourself. You have to tell your students who you are. Yes. And you have to connect to them. You have to tell them about your stories, how difficult it was for you too when you started studying English, or what are the things you did in order to get better in the language, or how you started working. Yes. So this is very important to make this connection, this interaction with the people, because I usually say that the relationship there, when you are doing your selling in there, you go through 3 stages. The first one, that is the flirt. You're flirting with your clients through your reels. So you make a reels with a tip or something interesting. The person who doesn't know you just click there and say, oh, I like that, as if you are in a bar, just flirting to a guy or to a girl. And then the person starts following you because the person became interested in what you have to say. And then on the feed, on your carousels and your postings, it's when you are dating the person, you are getting to know one another. So all the content you have to put in there, you should teach your followers, something. And then the stories is where you're going to be proposed. You get the proposal. Yes. And where you have a very strong relationship with your followers, and they are there interacting with you, and one day they decide that they need you, that they really want to be part of your life, and that's when they become your students. So it's very important that you share your personality and that you talk about your story, so that you create identification with your followers, as in a relationship that we just flirt with someone and we end up getting married to this person. Okay. So that's why it's so important. So have to consider when we talk about organizing the Instagram is our username and our bio. Why? Because usually people, they write down very difficult usernames. So, okay, in my case, it's the name of my business, Mastering Language. But in here, you can see my name, Maggie Abrão, and what I do, mentora de professores, because by the time someone is looking for something, if the person knows your name, the person is going to look for your name. Or if the person is looking for a mentora de professores, the person is going to write it there, Then your experience must be made very clear. Professora de inglês há 35 anos. Há 20 anos trabalho com aulas particulares. And what you do, what is your promise? Transforma você em master teacher de sucesso. So you have to choose one name that represents your brand and it's easy to remember. And in your bio, you have to showcase your expertise, your teaching approach, and additionally include a clear call to action, such as follow us to learn English. Okay, so this is very important. In this case, I have my site there, so people can click on it and see all the things I offer. The highlights are also crucial, Like they enable you to save essential information published in your stories, because the stories are there only for 24 hours. So once you have some content that you really enjoy doing, that you think it's very, very nice, you can save them, yes, on your highlights, so that people who goes into Instagram for the first time, they can have a check on the previous posts you did on your stories, and it's very interesting. So you need to organize all of them, put the icons. For example, my material, I have a book. My mentorship, I have a light bulb, like the my messages, my students' messages. I have the speech bubble. So you have to identify well, yes, your highlights important. So when we talk about colors, you can see here that I chose two colors. Now, in fact, three colors, because I use orange, blue, and white. And sometimes I vary from light blue, dark blue, but in the same shade of blue and the same shade of orange. And it's very important to maintain this standard in your posts, because it makes it easier for your followers to identify your posts afterwards, you know. So choosing a color palette and two fonts will help you maintain this pattern, and it organizes your Instagram. So imagine that your Instagram is like your house. So when you are going to receive visitors to your house, you have to clean the house, you organize your house, yes, so they don't get into your house and they find clothes on the table, shoes on the floor. Everything is neat and organized. So this is how your Instagram must be. It must be easy for your followers and new followers to identify what you're talking about in each of your posts, so they can click there and read the things they are interested in. Second thing, so you have to vary the type of content you post. I see that sometimes teachers, they post only slangs, or sometimes they post only words or message. So it's important that you do different things. For example, put on their photos, videos, carousels, stories, sometimes a live broadcast, you know. So use Instagram as a platform to showcase your day-to-day life as an English teacher with confidence and authority. Yes.
And
So,
this is something that you were talking to me these days ago, and you gave me some tips of contents that I can post.
when you are in the very beginning and people don't know you, you have to do different things to attract people, yes. And how do you attract people? So imagine, still talking about that situation at a bar where you are flirting one another, you know. So you and your follower, or your new follower, at the very beginning of the relationship, you must be beautiful. Yeah, so when you start dating someone and you're going out, you always dress up, yes, you make up, and you are always well dressed, beautiful. And the same must happen to your Instagram, because your Instagram is what is going to attract your followers, you know, is what's going to show your authority. So it's very important that everything is organized. Yes, because our brain doesn't deal very well with things that are not organized. Yes, so that's what I tell you. You have to try to establish a pattern on your posts. How can you do that? Let's take you, before you decide the colors you're going to use on your Instagram, you have to research the meaning of the colors. For example, what the color blue means, the color orange, yes, because it must match to your own personality as well, you know. And also, for example, when you have something more colorful, it means the person is more creative. Yes, So the way you organize the colors of your posts on your Instagram is going to tell people what kind of person you are. And when you see something, oh, this is Maggie's because of the colors, and then the person stops and sees. Consistency and credibility. Maintaining consistency in colors over time builds credibility. Frequent changes in the color palette can confuse the public and undermine trust in the brand. So you have to choose very well the colors you're going to use, because you must avoid keep on like changing colors all the time. Legibility and accessibility is also very important when you choose the colors you're going to use. Why? Because you must use colors with a contrast. So in here you see we have a very dark red with a very soft pink. Yes. And you see that, for example, when the person writes on the pink, the color is red. When the person writes on the red, the color is pink or the color is white, because you need this contrast. Otherwise, it gets very difficult for people to read the message. And if it's difficult, people are going to give it up, because people are on the Instagram to entertain themselves, although we are selling stuff there. You have to choose two different types of letters, yes, and one of them you must use on your headlines, on your titles, yes, and the other one on your text, right? So how are you supposed to choose that? So fonts impact readability and scannability. So the term readability refers to how easy it is to distinguish any letter on a page. Yes? So on the fonts below, one is clearly more legible. So for example, in here we have the word leitura written into different fonts. The first one you can read very easily, while the other one, it takes you a while until you understand what is written there. So you shouldn't choose letters that gives this impression that it's difficult to read. So scannability, on the other hand, refers to how easy it is to read longer stretches of text. As you can see in the example below, both fonts are quite legible, but it takes a lot more concentration to read the sentence on the left. The font on the right makes it easier to read. So, for example, in here, the small one, although both of them, you can read both of them, this is a serifada, yes? So we call the letters serifada. So it's today I won't have much time to talk about it, but it's very interesting. In my mentorship, master teacher roadmap, when we have this class, I teach more than I am teaching here, because we are going to talk about all types of letters. You're going to talk about the meaning of the colors. So it's just a beginning, yes, just for you to have an idea on how you can organize your Instagram. So you see that the sentence on the left is quite difficult to be read, while the sentence on the right is more clear. So we have to choose letters that are easy for your followers to read. Ideally, you don't want to make your readers struggle to read your text, because they are going to give it up, yes, and they are going to look for something else to do instead of enjoying and reading your contents on the Instagram. So I guess this is it, Felipe.
So that's it. Thank you for being with me during this video. I hope that the teachers joined the
Enjoy it.
video, enjoyed the video, and see you next time.
Okay, thanks a lot. Follow me on Mastering Language. Yes, and I will be glad to answer your questions there.